Sunday, we're closing out week 6. There were 10 games on, big performances, returns from injury, changes to starting lineups. Everything was happening. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and get out of my life and out of my property and ring up and make a time like every other person does. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky at joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel and get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com and sign up for your favorite team's newsletter 5 days a week in your inbox. All of the news about your team, LockedOnDaily.com. And you double bang on this one as well, I'm sure. Hit the thumb, drop the comment, leave it below, subscribe on the audio, on the video. We are heading our way towards the annexation of Canada, 90,000 subs. We'll do it. We'll get there. We'll save you guys. Let's talk about the actual. We'll get straight into it because there are 10 games on, so quite a bit across the NBA. We did a waiver wire show earlier today, so you can go check that out over there. We'll get straight into talking about what we need to here. The first game, a couple of early ones, the Pacers up against the Memphis Grizzlies. Indiana did welcome back, sort of a little bit surprising. Andrew Nembhard was back. That meant that Quentin Jackson moved to the bench. Nembhard was on a pretty strong minutes restriction. He was only able to play 15 minutes, and he just got that all, banged it all out immediately in the first half. So that was done. The Grizzlies do win at 136-121. As for Neesmith and Ben Shepherd, they're still weeks away from returning. So 136-121 is the final score. And guess what? The Pacers were on the road, so that meant that Tyrese Haliburton was terrible. I honestly don't know what's going on here. Well, I mean, I sort of do, but I don't. 8 points for Hallie, but he played 37 minutes. He just shot 30%. He had 7 assists, he had 2 steals, and realistically, he just cannot shoot on the road. And it's becoming such a problem, I think, at the moment with him, is that he's also just not taking as many shots. He took, 10 shots here? Andrew Nembhard ran with a 31% usage and played only the first half. Nembhard had 14, 2 and 4 with 2 steals and 2 threes. And we've seen, the last week, Haliburton was the 7th ranked player. And then we get this. It has been a very, very tough go of things. I don't think anybody expected his back to be causing problems like this, because obviously we didn't know that he had a back problem. We know he had the hamstring last season. And realistically, the thing that's happening, the assists are down. They're down 1.5 per game, which is surprising. But he just can't shoot. He's 30% from 3. He's 40% from the field. That's just not who he is. Or not who he has been at any point. So I do believe there's going to be some sort of improvement coming. And we saw it last week. But this home road split thing's a real problem. As for Nembhard, that's really good, obviously. 14, 2 and 4. But we also saw, before he was injured, he just didn't do anything. He was out there sort of just running around in circles. So I'm not going to be rushing to grab him. McConnell was able to keep some stuff going, 15, 4 and 4, but with Nembhard back, it does hurt him somewhat, and that meant that Quentin Jackson only played 9 minutes, 5 points there. Siakam was fine without being good, 17, 2 and 6, and Jarris Walker continued to put up some good numbers, and I say continued, he was okay. He sort of lost his role. He came back the last game and was good, and then was okay here, 9 and 7 with 2 steals. I think we just got to look at him as a defensive stats streamer, though, and it was actually a good game from Obi Toppin, which we don't get. 16 and 8 with a steal, 70%. He's really the guy that you can stream to try and get one of those field goal percentage bumps. I don't really know what else he provides. That's sort of where we're at, I think, with that. On the Memphis side of things, they rolled out the same starting lineup. Let's talk about Desmond Bane, who people were a little bit concerned about. 30 minutes, 16, 6 and 6, 2 threes, 15 shots, 47%, sorry. It's not perfect, but 30 minutes and 16, 6 and 6 is pretty good. You are encouraged by that. Morant played only 27, 19, 2 and 8. This team continues to really just thin all of the minutes out, and I think it's going to be a recurrent problem. They're the 2 words. Santi Aldama, I don't really know how he is doing this, I'll be honest with you, because last season, Santi started big chunks of games and was, I think, for most of the time, relatively useless. This season, he's playing limited minutes. He just drops to 15, 4 and 6. He only took 9 shots, but 6 of them went in. His numbers have been incredibly good despite the low minutes. He's averaging 15, 9, and 3.5 in the last 7 games in under 26 minutes a night. Yes, it is coming because he's shooting 58% from 3, and that's like literally 100% not going to stick. But his usage is also like way up. What's he at? 20 usage, and last season he was at 16? No, last season he was at 17. Sorry, the year before 16. So he's all of a sudden just taking more shots. Everything is going in. I'm not really sure that he's going to hold it. I have very, very big doubts about it. But at the moment, like it's there. It's happening. We're not ignoring that. Jaren was good as well, 25 and 8 with 3 threes and 3 blocks, and Brandon Clark just does enough to be sort of streamable with Edie out, although Zach could be back in the next one. Clark had 8 points, but he had a steal and a block, and he was 80% from the field. He's not going to show up in many high-volume numbers, but there's just a little bit there. And it was also a pretty good one from Marcus Smart. Only 23 minutes, which again makes me skeptical long-term, but 16, 1, and 6, okay with grabbing him, and he was a pretty high-level stream for Sunday, and it worked out pretty well. But I'll tell you what I don't think you need to be doing. That is holding on to Scotty Pippen Jr. Get that garbage out of here. As much as I like Pippen, he had 4 points in 11 minutes, and the role just is not there if Smart and Morant are available. I think that's relatively clear now. I think we can also jack off Jake LaRavia, even though he had 11, 3, and 5. 21 minutes is not going to be enough. And Jalen Wells hit 3 threes, and he's a threes streamer for deeper formats. But this lineup that they're running with, and the way that they're going with those minutes and those rotations, I think feels like it's going to be something that sticks until Steve Kerr chucks a foreseeable future mention towards Taylor Jenkins, and Jenkins maybe reconsiders. But otherwise, it's all going pretty well there for Memphis. On to the second game of the day. It is our Orlando Magic. And the Brooklyn Nets in Brooklyn. The Magic win at 100-92. Orlando was able to trot out the same starting lineup. And yes, that same starting lineup still involves Goga Bitadze and Wendell Carter Jr. starting together. We do our best on this show. Well, I do my best. Is our best good enough? I don't know. That's up for you to decide. I try as much as I can to get things right based on patterns, predictions, trying to get inside another man's head, Gigi, and also figure out what they've done in the past. And that's what I've done with Jamal Mosley. In the past, when Wendell Carter has returned, Goga Bitadze went to become a zero. And this time, they said, screw it. Our starting center is now our starting power forward, and we're going to actually play Goga Bitadze more minutes despite our center returning, which you can have as much faith as you want in Goga Bitadze, and I love Goga Bitadze. I think I've been one of the highest people on Goga as a player since before he was drafted. But I think it's disingenuous to suggest that we could have foreseen that Goga's minutes would go up when Wendell returned, because that's what's happened. 32 minutes for Bitadze, 12 and 13, 3 steals and 2 blocks. And obviously, we just keep rolling with him until we see what happens when either he gets benched or more likely Paolo Banchero returns. And then it's going to get pretty squishy. As for Carter, 28 minutes, 14-7, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 100% shooting. That's also 12-10 worthy. So we just try it out and we see what they do. But yeah, it is a little bit confusing. In fact, their 3 best fantasy performers for the day were their 3 centers. Mo Wagner had 12 and 8, he had 1 steal, and he also chipped in 2 blocks. We don't get from old Mo that often, but he flamed on and was pretty good. It was also really, really good stuff from Kentucky. Oh, actually, sorry. I'll talk about KCP in a sec. We've seen a very strong pattern of this through the season. Centers against the Nets tend to cook. And we're Goga, Wendell, and Wagner all putting up big numbers. Coincidence? I don't know. KCP, terrible all season. Last 3 games, very good. 16 points with 4 threes and 2 steals. His minutes are up. And if he's going to play more minutes and be more confident like this, then yeah, we can consider a stream there. I don't really have that faith that it's going to hold, but that's okay. Well, Mr. Black, did he fool us? Maybe. Is he good? At the moment, not really. 5 and 4 in 20 minutes. He blocked a shot, but they are deprioritizing Anthony Black. And we don't need to roster him, very clearly. You can look at John Isaac's game and you can vomit, which is cool. I'm all for vomiting. Go ahead and do what you need to do. Gag on it as much as you want. He played 8 minutes. Why did he play 8 minutes? Did he get hurt? No, thank God. What happened was he got 4 fouls in that time, and that's why things were pretty rough there for Johnny Isaac. He still snagged a block, but you know what it is with Isaac. He's not a points league guy. He's a category league guy for steals and blocks, and yeah, an 8-minute outlier like this doesn't change any of those facts. Finally, a stinker from Franz Wagner. 20 points on 24%, but 9 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 blocks softens that blow somewhat. And 86 from the line is fantastic. And Jalen Suggs also in foul trouble. He fouled out in 27 minutes. He had 12, 3, and 5 with 2 steals. And he does get an awful lot of fouls, old mate Jalen Suggs. On the Brooklyn side of things, this team is just very hard to read. Because at the moment, because there's just so many blokes out. So they changed their lineup here. Ben Simmons went to the bench. Nick Claxton started. Tyrese Martin went to the bench as Dennis Schroeder returned. Let's talk about the Claxton-Simmons situation. Simmons played just 12 minutes. He had 5 assists and he had to leave with a knee issue, which he said was bothering him before the game. Cool. They're going to back-to-back, so there's absolutely zero chance that Ben Simmons plays on Monday. And now there's also a risk that Nick Claxton doesn't, because right at the end of this game, he smashed, who was it in the face? Franz Wagner, I think it was. Smashed him in the face, got an immediate flagrant 2 ejection. So flagrant 2 is an immediate ejection. So that often, not always, but often leads to a suspension. I would not be shocked to see Claxo out tomorrow, which means Claxton will be out, Day'Ron Sharpe will be out, Ben Simmons will be out, and it's maybe Dorian Finney-Smith is out, meaning it might be Trendon Watford time. Now, Watford is coming back from a hamstring issue, so maybe he even sits, but I don't know who else they're going to play. Watford played 25 minutes, he had 13 and 3, and it would have been much better had he not shot a very weird 33%. That's one to watch for tomorrow. As for Schroeder, 37 minutes, 20.7 assists, triple one, shot horribly, but with Cam Thomas out, he's going to do a lot more. And the other guy that does a lot more is Cam Johnson, the best Cam, the better Cam. 25 and 4 with 2 threes on 53%. Unfortunately for Cam Johnson, is he sprained his ankle? No, not that one, the other one. So he sprained his right ankle, I think it was a week ago. And in this one, he sprained his left ankle. Or just flip those sides around. It doesn't really matter. It's not a re-injury. It's a second injury. He thinks he's going to play tomorrow, but we've heard that story before, haven't we, Norman Powell? We've heard stories from players who say they're fine and ready to go the next day, and then they're not. So don't be shocked if Cam Johnson is out tomorrow. So we could have no Johnson. Giggity. We could have no Claxton, no Simmons, no Zaire Williams, who limped off at the end of this game, no Dorian Finney-Smith, no Cam Thomas, no Bojan Bogdanovic, no Noah Clowney, no Day'Ron Sharpe. Yeah, it could be terrible. It could be, and there's only 4 games on. You could just be just jamming blokes in. The problem with this Nets team is one day it'll be Jalen Wilson, then it'll be Zaire Williams, then it'll be old mate Tyrese Martin, and then today, or Shake Milton, and then today it was Keon Johnson. 12 and 4 for 2 threes and 2 steals. The Nets just have so many different Johnsons they can whip out, and it's how do we know this? Because Jalen Wilson, who's had some big games, played 22 minutes. He had 6 points. That stinks. He was the guy that I thought, but maybe not. Maybe it cycles back to his turn for the next one. Shake played 30 minutes last game, and he had 6 points here in 20 minutes. It's just going to be incredibly messy. Are we going to get some Jackie Chway in there? He played 18 seconds here, and I just wanted to mention Jackie Chway. But I think it's going to be incredibly messy trying to figure out what goes on with this Nets team, at least until some guys return. We've got 8 more games for us to cover off, which we will do. But before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Yes, December is here. This is, for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, cold time of the year. Unless maybe you're in a tropical area, so maybe it's not so cold. But whatever, it is around that Christmas time. It is holiday time. And around this holiday season, there's many things that can bring you comfort, coziness, family, celebrations, end of school, end of work, whatever it is. Wherever you find your comfort and your coziness, therapy can also be a way to bring some additional comfort or help you find the right comfort things for you in your life. So when you are thinking of this sort of stuff and thinking, well, this might be a challenging time for me, or I really enjoy this, how can I fix it, or how can I make it better or more enjoyable or be able to fit all this stuff in, that's where therapy is really able to help. Therapy is not just a simple thing like, I'm sad, fix me. That's not how it works. It's about improving the quality of your life. And if you've been thinking of starting therapy, BetterHelp might be the one for you. It's entirely online. It suits your schedule. You fill out an online questionnaire. They match you up with a therapist. You chat to them. You have a session. If that doesn't work out, then that's it's bad luck. See you later. Out the door. Nah, of course it's not. They'll let you change your therapist to another therapist with no additional charge. So find the comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. Games. We've got more of them. So let's get in and talk about this next one. Oh my God, I did it, didn't I? I did the thing on Brooklyn. I forgot to change the bloody screen over. Oh, I'm so sorry. I do apologize for that, and I know you're going to be screaming about it in the live chat. Sorry about that. Guys, let's get on to the next game. It is Boston. They do go down to Cleveland. 115-111 in Cleveland. I don't really know how much that we can take away out of this game considering who was in and who was out. On the Boston side, Al Horford returned into the starting lineup. Jaylen Brown was out with an illness. Derek White also did not play, so they started slamming Sammy Hauser, and both Porzingis and Horford played, which means they're not going to play tomorrow. So it'll be very interesting to see exactly what they do. It's 115-111 here, but the guy who really popped off was slamming Sammy Hauser. 36 minutes, 13 points, 3 threes, and 3 steals. That's a lot of minutes for Hauser. And tomorrow, you might have no Brown, no White, no Holiday, no Horford, no Porzingis. That's possible. It's not necessarily likely, but it's possible. Hauser could be a really good stream again. So could Peyton Pritchard, who had 24 and 7 with 3 threes. And the other guy that sort of stepped up was Drew Peterson, a man that just... Do you know who that is? Have you seen him before? Have you recognized what he looks like? Well, he played. Actually, they've got someone on this team that hasn't played a single second this season, Anton Watson. I wonder if he ever gets in the game. Peterson had 8 points in 25 minutes, and there could be opportunities for him tomorrow. Tatum was great, 33, 8, and 4, and Porzingis straight away, 32 minutes. All right, so I guess we're back. 21 and 8, 3 threes for KP, 3 steals. He won't play tomorrow, but it's unbelievable he's playing that much. We've got to really start to have some serious discussions about what the hell you do with Drew Holiday. 34 minutes, 4 points. He did have 5 assists. He did have 2 steals, but he shot 22%. I don't think you hold him in 10 or 12 team points leagues. I don't think you do. Category leagues, I believe that I would in 12s, but in 10s, I'm not sure that I would. Cliffs get hit all the time. I'm not saying that Drew Holiday is washed, but you know what? Maybe he sort of is. Sometimes it just happens, and we have seen 2 Celtics guards that it's happened to recently. Isaiah Thomas and Kemba Walker. They were there, and all of a sudden they were bad. This is bad from Drew. I don't think that it's the case that he's washed like those guys were. But that sort of top 70-ish fantasy player, top 80-ish, it feels so far away. I don't know that we're getting back there, honestly. And that's why, and his points league production is just not good enough to justify him as any sort of like must-hold, must-roster guy. On the Cleveland side of the equation, there was still no Max Strus, no Dean Wade, but we did get Dracaris LeVert playing, and he played 23 minutes off the bench. 13 and 6, that's pretty good, but 23 minutes for LeVert is not a must-roster guy. He's a streamable player, but with him back and the inevitable drop-off coming, Milk sucked. Ty Jerome had 6 points. He had 1 assist. He had no steals, and he shot 25%. He's rostered in 1,000,000 12-team leagues.
Get that garbage out of here.
It is almost impossible for a player to be a sub-20-minute-a-night guy as a 12-team league guy. His steal numbers were through the roof. He was the best shooter in the entire NBA. And it just wasn't ever going to stick. And sure, while it's happening, you love it. You get excited. You high-five your mates. You go tell your mum, hey, see what Milk's doing? She goes, what are you actually talking about? And you go, don't worry about it. We're all fired up, though. It just is never going to hold. That's why, like, you can, if you grab it and get ahead of it and have a nice little run, it's great. But if you miss out on picking up Ty Jerome, I don't think you should be worried about it. Go, okay, that would have been nice to have on my roster, but come on, man. It's like the likelihood of it holding is, it needs multiple injuries to happen. Mitchell shot poorly early on. But he ended up with 35 and 7 with 6 threes, 2 steals, and a block. And Garland had 22, 5, and 8. Good numbers there. Not as good for Evan Mobley, who was just a 31% shooter. He had 9 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks. And Jarrett Allen was also pretty disappointing, 8 and 10. But they do get the win over the Celtics. Not as much really to talk about in that game from a fantasy perspective. Given that the major thing there is probably just the Ty Jerome milkiness. Should we do the next game? That's probably a pretty good idea. The Pelicans and the Knicks. Now, I talked about the Nets game being weird and difficult to sort of figure out because of the injuries. This is worse. The Knicks cooked them 118-85, and this is how bad this game was, a blowout. 9 minutes to go in the fourth, Tom Thibodeau said, everyone, all right, take a seat, my guys. Still somehow gave Mikal Bridges 36 minutes, but he was able to sit those players. On the Pelicans, there was no Ingram, there was no Zion, there was no Herb, there was no Hawkins, there was no Alvarado. And everyone else sucked as well. Now, they've got a lot of players back, yeah. That's true. But, yeah, like Trey Murphy, 21%. He played 29 minutes, he had 11 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 threes. I don't have a button or a sound or a noise or anything like this, but I might actually just swear at you. Nah, I won't because I get in trouble for that. Just don't drop him. Like, please don't drop him. I know it's been rough. But you know it's been rough and he's still like the 91st ranked player in points leagues? And in category leagues, he's shooting like 32%. And what do we know Trey Murphy for? Apart from having incorrect naming nomenclature, it's that he's a bloody good shooter. So yeah, like we're good here. We hold. What do we do? Type it in the chat if you want. Type it in the comments. You can even write it with that stupid HODL if you like. I don't care. Diamond hands it. Do whatever. DeJounte Murray had 10 points on 29% shooting. My take that DeJounte Murray is not as good as people think he is has worked out pretty well. Yeah, that's unfair to him at this point. We'll see. 10, 8, and 5, 3 steals and a block. While BJ Boston, we had 19 minutes of BJ here. He finished off with 13 points. He hit a 3. He had 2 steals. But like honestly, this is more of one of those things that there was just so much, or so many players out and so much of a blowout that he was able to get more done. And Alfred Payton, we don't need to roster him. He did have 7 assists. He did have 2 blocks, but the opportunity is not there. It was a solid game from Yves Missi. Only 20 minutes, but 11 and 8 with a block. You can just roll with Missi. I am not the biggest fan. I think you're well aware of that by now. And I don't know what happens when players return, but you know what's not happening? Players aren't returning. Ingram, Zion, Herb, Alvarado, Hawkins all out. Does Trey even sit tomorrow because it's a back-to-back? Does CJ sit on a back-to-back? Is Willie Green going to last till Christmas? Maybe, or maybe not. All the questions I had about this team, not a single one of them has been answered, and every other question in the world has popped up. Just, you could not imagine a more disastrous season unless you went back to last season and saw Memphis's. But even then, they showed at least some positivity. On the Knicks side of things, again, what am I going to say here? Mikal Bridges had 31 points with 7 threes. Hallelujah. That's great that we got a big game out of you, Mikal, after some real stinkers. Fantastic. OG Anunoby, after a slow start, a hot patch, has now cooled off again. He had 7 points. He did have 3 steals and 4 blocks, but shot 20%, and we've talked about his shooting a million times. Juice McBride, I like that. I mean, is it super exciting? Not really, but 13, 2, and 3 with 3 threes in 22 minutes in a blowout. And I actually think that if you're sitting top half of the standings, if you've got an ability to do it, I'm okay with grabbing Juice, sitting him on your bench, because those numbers, like, they're okay. They're not great. They're okay. Again, it's okay. And that's more categories than points as well. But if someone goes down, Hart, OG, Brunson, Bridges, this man's going to play 38 minutes a night and run at top 70. So if you've got an ability to just hold on to old mate Juice McBride, I'd consider it. Towns grabbed 17 rebounds in the first half, I believe it was. Ended up with 14 and 19, 25 minutes, 1 steal, 1 block, being one of the better picks that you could have made in the second round, or God, some of you may have got him in the third. And then Josh Hart, yeah, his early season production's been awesome. I do think a drop-off is coming, but 12, 6, and 3, 31 minutes for Joshy is good. Is good. There's not much else going on there. Oh, Jalen Brunson, 16, 2, and 9, limited minutes, poor shooting. But honestly, what am I going to do? Get upset at the way the Knicks handled this game because they were very awesome and they absolutely cooked that Pelicans team who, they've got some problems, don't they? Some real problems coming up. All right, speaking of coming up, we've got the rest of the games we're going to cover off. But in the interim, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle all of the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook right now. All new customers can get $5. No, they can't. $150. What am I talking about? You get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. You open up the FanDuel Sportsbook app. You go to your live NFL betting. Might want to do that for Monday Night Football. You can see all of the action, all of the games, all of the odds, everything there. And then in that game, you can see the live stats. You can see the live play-by-play. You don't have to go to different spots to find that info. It's all in the same place where you would place those bets. So get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, we're going to get back in now because we have done, 4 games. Let's get in now, cover off the 5th. That is Miami losing. Imagine losing to the biggest losers in the world, the Toronto Raptors. 119-116, but you know what? They're Miami, so not a big difference. Not a big difference. 119-116, Toronto gets the victory. I love you, Toronto. I actually do. Miami, they were without Little Chungus, Nikola Jovic. They were without Josh Richardson. They were without Superman, Khalil Ware. And then you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't read about it. Hold on to everything that you own. Because contract year Jimmy Butler was mid and then got hurt. Ooh, yeah. 17, 5, and 3 is not bad. It is mid. But then he got hurt at the end of the game. He wasn't in to close it out. He said that, I'm fine. I'm just banged up. Are you going to play tomorrow? I don't know about that. Yeah, I do. I feel pretty good about knowing about that, Jim. I don't think you're going to be there. We'll see. Banged his knee. I don't want him to be hurt. I want him to play, but it seems to be almost an inevitability at this point. Hero, okay, here's a question for you. Is Tyler Hero, I'm not sure that he is, but is he the Heat's best player? He's been their best player this season. That's unequivocal, without any question. 31 points for him with 6 dribbles and 2 steals and 56% shooting. His shooting has cooled off somewhat, but this is an awesome game. Speaking of shooting cooling off, what's going on with Idris Adebayo? 39 minutes for Bam. He had 13 points on 13 shots, which is 39% for those of you whipping out a calculator at home. But he did have 20 rebounds. He did have 7 assists. Just everything that you thought you were getting from Bam has just changed. And I don't really know what's happening there. It's not that he's taking a million threes. He took 2. And he hit one of them. He just can't finish anything. His finishing at the rim is terrible this season. Terrible. Maybe he needs to talk to Marcus Smart about rim finishing ability. Haywood Highsmith continues to, if you get that joke, good for you. If you don't, bad luck. Haywood Highsmith, 27 minutes, 7 points with 3 blocks. He is a defensive stream option that you never know what you're going to get because it's Spoelstra. And I saw a great tweet from somebody, I don't know who it was. Apologies to that person who tweeted this because it was funny, right? They said, you never know who the Heat are. You never know what you're going to get from the Heat until the second half of the season. And someone said, yeah, Eric Spoelstra doesn't know what he's going to do with the Heat until the second half of the season. He's all over the shop. As much as I love Spo, there's nothing consistent. There's nothing that goes on that's stable with this team. Duncan Robertson started. He had 8 points in 21 minutes and hit 2 threes. And Terry Rozier played 29 off the bench. Are we going to see Rozier start next game if Butler's out? Or does Jaquez come back in? The jewel of everyone's eye in the Damian Lillard trade last season. Does he come back in and start? He had 6 points in 19 minutes. Rozier, 17, 1 and 5 is pretty good. And he didn't do it with 80% shooting. It was 42. But is he back into the favor as a starting player? Do anyone expect that Pele Larson and Jaime Jaquez will be playing the same minutes every night? Because that's what's happening. Alec Burks played 6 minutes here. He could play 25 next game. It's literally all over the place. So you can't rely on Robinson. You can't rely on Burks or Larson or Jaquez or Highsmith. You can't really rely on Rozier either. Although I think he's a soft 12-team hold, but I don't feel super confident about that either. Because it's just a little bit all over the place. Now, let's talk about the good team. The Toronto Raptors. They run out the same starting lineup. Still no Emmanuel Quickly as well. But doesn't really matter, does it? Because they had some players absolutely balling out. Which is a phrase I don't think I've ever said in my life and probably won't ever say again. Rowan Barrett Jr. We've had some field goal percentage issues from Rowan this season. But 37-7, 38 minutes, 3 threes, 1 block, 75%. You may know me as the Rowan Barrett hater. That might be the reputation you think I have. I've got Barrett in a ton of leagues this season. He is the 34th ranked player this season in points leagues, averaging 41 points a game. He is a clear top 100 fantasy guy, top 60 category guy, I think. Even with some bad games. The change in approach from him last season was important. It didn't really happen early on this season when Barnes was out, but we are back to Barrett cooking, which is awesome. Scott Barnes, 23, 10 and 9, and good field goals. Bad free throws, but good field goals. Another good game from him, and Pirtle continues to play awesome. 17 and 11, he was also a very, very strong target in the late rounds, and that has turned out very well. I am scared about what happens later in the year, but that is good stuff. The guys that I don't think are very good are Ochai Agbaji, and he had 7 points in 38 minutes, but the 38 minutes is intriguing, and Gary Trent III, Jacoby Walter. He had 12 points in 17 minutes. He got into some foul trouble, but I don't think that Agbaji or Walter are 12-team guys that you need to look at. Walter's maybe a 16-team league player. His 12 points in 17 minutes is fine, but the part of the issue with him and why I didn't love him as a prospect coming out of Baylor was he was a scoring guy. He scored incredibly inefficiently and didn't do anything else. And 12 points in 17 minutes is a usage of 25%. Cool, they were a minus 12 also. But 3 rebounds, no assists, no steals, no blocks, no free throws, and 4 fouls. I don't think Walter's someone we need to care about. Boucher, we care about him. We love him. He's a good bloke. I care about him in that sense. But, yeah, fantasy, probably not. Boucher had 8 and 2, and Mobo, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. If Mobo gets a starting spot in March, we would add him. But we obviously do not need to do that at this point in the year. Let's do the next game. It is the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Houston Rockets. And there are a lot of doomsayers through all social media. You know this all the time. There are people who are not social media, on regular media, who just love to talk shit about the NBA for whatever reason. It's your job, guys. Why don't you talk about the good things? Oh, man, look at our injuries. Look at this. Team's getting blown out. It's too much this. It's too much that. Every day in the NBA, there are cracking games between unbelievably good teams. So let's celebrate it. The Rockets knock off the Thunder. 119-116. That is massive. Now, I thought Houston would be able to jump up pretty big in the win total this season. They've been way better than I thought. That is just a gigantic victory for them over the Thunder. We'll talk about the Thunder side of things, who actually trotted out. Maybe that's the problem, is Dagnott put the same starting lineup out there 2 games in a row. Shea had 32 and 8, 5 assists and 2 steals. 82% from the line on 11 attempts is good. Don't let anybody, including me, tell you that's bad. But it is bad. But it's not bad, but it is bad. And I'll tell you why it's bad. Because when you draft Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you want 88% from the line on 11 attempts. That's one of his major superpowers. So if instead he becomes an 82 guy, which he was for all of his career except for last season, and then he sort of dipped in the playoffs and the Olympics, and he do it on that volume, it actually hurts a lot. And that's a weird thing about free throw percentage, is that 81, 82 is awesome. But it's not good for Shea. And that's what we got. I'm not going to take away from his game. It's fantastic. But that is always those problems. It's part of the reason why I was a little bit down on Shea this season, is I was worried about where that free throw would sit. He's still awesome. He's still a first-round player without any question, right? No, he is. He's still a first-round player. Is he? No, he still is, yeah. But yeah, that was the worry. Hartenstein, another double-double. 19, 13, a steal, a block, 75%. Imagine if Tom Thibodeau didn't give him 6% usage. He was on 20% here again. And the Bronco had 22, 5, and 7 triple. Not triple, I think he had 2 threes. But he had a steal and a block, and he just didn't shoot efficiently. But a lot of attempts from Jalen Williams. It was also a very good and very weird Lou Dort game. Now, 6 points on 6 attempts is bad, clearly. But 2 threes, 6 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Still remaining a premium-type stream guy. And it was also big minutes again from Cason Wallace. 14 points in 36 minutes with 3 threes and 9 rebounds. And if I knew that Cason Wallace was getting 31 or 32 minutes a night, I would consider him a 12-team adjacent player. As things stand, I'm not sure he's going to do that. And he's probably more of a steals stream guy. Isaiah Joe has lost sort of all momentum here. Scoreless in 13 minutes, while Aaron Wiggins had 13 in 27. And look at those guys' game logs. They're a little bit all over the place. And AJ Mitchell also falling out of favor somewhat. Alex Caruso, still don't know when he's come back from his hip injury. Maybe some point soon, Caruso, maybe. Be nice to find out what's actually going on there. On the Houston side of things, they trotted out the same starting lineup. Again, that is what they do. And everyone's favorite panic player, maybe it's not their favorite, that's probably Haliburton, but Fred VanVleet had 38 in 35 minutes. He had 5 threes. He didn't have a defensive stat, but went 13 of 14 from the line and shot 53 from the field. And yeah, it still hasn't been a great start from VanVleet, but yeah, it's improving. And same as it is with Jabari Smith, who played 40 minutes. He had 15 and 14 with 3 threes and 3 blocks. And honestly, if you get 3 threes and 3 blocks, which you won't, but if he's playing those minutes, that's good enough. That's what we want. That means we need to look at Amen Thompson, who honestly was not very good. 9 and 6 and bad field goals and bad free throws and played 26 minutes. I've already had the questions. Do I drop Amen Thompson? Absolutely not. What are we talking about? But there was also the questions I had the other day. Are Amen's minutes sustainable? That was after he'd played 42 games in a row. And I don't care who the player is, right? If anyone ever asks you that question, the answer is, of course it's not. No one's ever doing that every single game. It's just not going to happen. Amen is still going to go up and down, and when you play off the bench, you do have that change in floors and ceilings. But we hold. Same as we hold Tari Eason. 6 points, not great. 2 steals, 1 block, pretty good. 25%, not good. But we hold them. We hold both those guys. I know that the Jollibee fans are going to fire up here, but what do you do with Jalen? Like, 41 points was awesome, right? But how about every other game around it? 9 points, 2 rebounds, 34 minutes, 33% for Jalen Green. He's a clear 12-team points hold. In categories, I think you probably hold him, but man, there are too many downs to feel super great about the goods. Because when a good happens, you go, that's fantastic, but man, you've been 250th over the last 2 weeks. Like, about time you did something. And you can never pick when a good one's going to come. It's always a hard matchup. You're going against Dort and Wallace and Shea and Williams. These guys are unbelievable defenders. But it's been just too much of a consistent pattern, I think, from Jalen Green, and we have to be somewhat worried about the long-term value here for him. So let's do this next game. We're talking the Lakers and the Jazz. And the Lakers had a million guys out in this one. So much so that Austin Reeves, their starting point guard, was out. And then their backup point guard, D'Angelo Russell, was also out. And then Cam Reddish, who'd been their starter, was also out. So Gabe Vincent had to be dusted off. They win at 105-104 with a very weird ending after Colin Sexton hit a game winner. But unfortunately, Will Hardy had called timeout just before he shot it. So the points were wiped off, and of course they didn't end up winning. And I think you all by now know my stances on timeouts. Get rid of them. There are too many. Why do we have a game that is dynamic and fast-paced and moving, and we go, you know what, let's give each team 5 opportunities to just stop things every half? Why? Why? Obsession with timeouts is so annoying. And I get part of this is cultural because I grew up watching sports with no timeouts. Never. You never had a timeout. You just play, man. Just play. Figure it out. You don't need timeouts. Just play it. And that's what's really annoying about this. I hate all these stoppages. I think that's... Even when you watch like international basketball, FIBA, Olympics, notice they don't have as many timeouts. There's like, what I have 2? Very limited. And I think everything flows way better. And I know, before you type it, I know. But you got to get the ads in. I know you're going to say that, but I'm just telling you from a purely visual spectacle. Anyway, Lakers win. Let's talk about Vincent, who has been bad. And somehow he shot 80%. He didn't take any shots, so that's okay. At 10 points, 2 threes, 31 minutes, a steal. They play again tomorrow. You can stream him because there's nobody playing. There's only 8 teams on, and if Russell and Reeves are out, then sure, you can have a look at it. We also got Jalen Hood-Schifino, who'd played 1 minute before today. He ended up with 4 points in 13 minutes. He hit his only shot. Maybe the Lakers shouldn't have declined his rookie option. They should have. And then Hachimura was able to do way more. 13, 7 and 3, 2 steals, 2 threes. Rui is still rostered in a lot of leagues. If you've got him, cool. Well done. You got a good vet game today and you hold him for tomorrow, but long-term, absolutely not. And then Dalton Connect got Jared McCain. And this is where, I sound like a hater. But what we are trying to do is educate and make fantasy fun. But making it fun is also understanding what goes on. Because no one will talk about this from Dalton Connect. Not a single person. All you'll do is go back and go, yes, but he scored 35 points. He did. But a lot of what he was doing was just completely not a real number. This is also not a real number. He's not a 20% shooter, nor is he a 50% free throw guy. And the concerns we had, and we had it with McCain, and we've got it with Connect, is that if the shots don't fall at this well above average rate, what else are you doing? Connect played 30 minutes, he had 6 points. He had 7 rebounds, so that's at least a positive. He got a steal. But this is a man that is lauded as if he is Steph Curry, and he's just not. Like, he is a fine to pretty good shooter. Yes, we can hold him for now, but long-term, the overall fantasy upside value of him, I don't think is sky high. Even this season, I think he's okay to have, but I don't think it's sky high. 30 minutes from Max Christie, like, pretty good, but, like, 30 minutes is good, sorry. The production's, like, whatever. It's 12 and 5 on 33%, and if these guys are out, then Christie and Connect and Hachimura and Vincent, these guys who I'm not actually sure are 12 teamers, a lot of them I'm certain aren't, you use them tomorrow if players are out, but Reeves or Russell could both play tomorrow, and, yeah. You must be feeling pretty shitty if you're Maxwell Lewis. You can't even get any action here. Well, Arnell Traore plays 11 minutes with all these guys out. Lewis can't even get in. He was a second-round pick last season. I haven't even talked about AD, who had 33 and 11, or LeBron, who looked pretty cooked the other day. But, yeah. Are we going to put LeBron on watch? How disrespectful is that? Nah, let's do it. He had 27, 5, and 14 with 2 blocks, but the efficiency, man, 28 attempts for LeBron, 43%. He is definitely falling at the moment, and he just finally looks like he's not quite LeBron. That's fine. The man is a million years old. But it just, yeah, we're starting to see a few little things happening. The Utah side of things. Some interesting developments here again. They was able to trot out the same lineup. No Jordan Clarkson, no Kyle Filipowski. So Walker Kessler played 35 minutes. He had 13-11 with 2 blocks and 100% shooting. He is rolling at the moment. I don't know whether he's going to hold at 30-plus minutes. Filipowski sort of needs to fit in somewhere, but this is incredibly impressive from Kessler. Markkanen also was good. 22, 7, and 4. If anyone wants to give you a top 50 player for Markkanen in a trade, do it. I would do it immediately. You probably can't do it now, but I would do it without hesitation. And then Sexton, despite not having that game winner added to his ledger, had 15, 3, and 4 with a triple one. I'll tell you why I hate it, though. He didn't take a single free throw, and he still played only 29 minutes. And this has been a consistent thing with Sexton all season. 22 minutes, 24 minutes, 39 minutes, 30 minutes, 27 minutes, 24 minutes. You're in favour, you're out of favour. 29 minutes in a game like this with no Clarkson and you hit the game winner, like that is not good for long-term value. So while it's fine now and we love that we're getting good stuff from Sexton, it's not good at all long-term. I don't think. And Johnny Collins, who all his numbers have been ridiculous. He was good, didn't hit his free throws, but 21-9 with 3 threes. He's good, and Keontae George at least hit shots, 50%. But the volume was down, 14, 4, and 4. He's not for everybody, very clearly, Keontae George. He's for very certain teams in certain builds, and it's okay. I don't think he's losing that spot at any point soon, though. Brycey Sensabaugh had 6 points in 17 minutes. Obviously, that is deeper league stuff. But what about my man, ESPN legend, John Juzang? Someone asked, why is Johnny Juzang the ESPN legend? I'll tell you why. It's because this is his third season, but last season in ESPN Fantasy, you couldn't add him. He just wasn't available to add, even though he was playing like big minutes forever. So he's an ESPN legend because they just said, on a roster, why would we bother? You're not important enough to us. You don't generate Kendrick Perkins clicks. Maybe get Kendrick Perkins to say his name out loud, and then they'd add him into the system. Juzang had 11, 4, and 5 in his 16 minutes. And old mate Micah Potter, who people did add, unbelievably, he had 0 points in 15 minutes. And if you did add him in 10 or 12 or 14 or 16 team leagues, you should feel all right about jacking him off.
Get that garbage out of here.
Yeah. All right, let's do the next one. The Dallas Mavericks. They get out of jail against the Blazers, 137-131. Some very weird things going on in the box score here. The Mavericks, Daniel Gafford started because Derek Lively hyperextended his knee in the last game, returned to action, but now he's out again. Of course, we don't know what actual damage happened to Lively in his knee, but hopefully he's okay. Look, if you are in a shallow format or in a points league, you don't have to hold on to Derek Lively. His production, his upside is not that high in that sort of a setting where you need to hold on. But in a category league, I'd like to hear a little bit more. Now, obviously, if Daniel Gafford's available, you go and add him. The bigger one is, of course, Luka Doncic returned. That meant that Kyrie Irving, of course, had to sit this one out. Of course he did, with a shoulder issue. So we're still going to have some weird stuff going on. And then Najee Marshall, who'd been replacing Klay Thompson in this game, he was, or the last couple of games, he was out as well, and they moved Jaden Hardy into that starting group. So immediately your eyes are going to go to Quentin Grimes, and you know that I love me some Grimey. 28 points, 5 threes, 5 rebounds, 5 steals, 3 threes. It's a genuinely ridiculously good game. 69% from the field. He is rolling as a top 100 guy over the last couple of weeks. But in that time, Luka has been out, Kyrie was out today, Klay has been out. That is 3 starters. Not all at the same time, but a lot of them crossing over. And Grimes is going to be a 24-minute-a-night bench player as soon as those guys return. Now, I actually think, don't tell anybody, I actually think Grimes might be a better player than Klay Thompson. He might be. But it doesn't matter if I think that. It matters if Jason Kidd thinks that. And I don't think that Jason Kidd necessarily does. But not only was it Kyrie and Klay out here, but Najee Marshall was also out. So this is awesome. And if you streamed in Grimes, you love that. Absolutely love what he did. But long term, I don't really see how it's able to continue. But you know what? We get surprised by stuff all the time. As for Luka, 36, 7, 13, 3 steals, 4 threes, bad at the line, great from the field. Okay. And also, if we're going to praise Grimes, which I did, we've also got to tell you that Spencer Dinwiddie is cooking, and I don't know what's happening. 20 points, 2 threes, 5 assists, 2 steals for Dinwiddie, who is also a somehow top 100 player over the last 2 weeks. But also, he is going to be a 16-minute-a-night backup, I'm guessing, when Kyrie, Klay, and Najee all play. So stream him in, sure, that's cool, but it's just not real. Paul Washington Jr., pretty good. 14, 3 and 6, 4 threes. We obviously roll with him. We know there's going to be bad ones coming at some point, but for now, that's really solid. And then we got big Muxie Kleber minutes. And he missed every single shot that he took, literally. 0-5 from the field, but he did have 2 points on free throws and 7 rebounds, but he's getting a lot of minutes. But there's just so many guys out, 4 key rotation players out, that is going to make all of this stuff of these sort of benchy, scrubby sort of guys not really that important as we move forward. The Portland game, the Portland side of things actually probably is a little bit weirder when we take a look at it, because Jeremy Grant returns. That meant that Denny Avdia moved to the bench, and you know that I am much more down on Denny than other people are. And while you can look at this from Denny and go, 21, 4 and 2 is actually really good, Josh, I absolutely agree, 100% it is good. The thing you've got to be cautious of is that as soon as Grant comes back, they went, right, Denny, see you later, you're playing under 30 minutes now. And that's about priorities. It's about coaching hierarchy and how they view him. He also shot 58% to get there. So for now, sure, hold on to Denny. But I do worry that we've seen him bench once already. This is the second time. And the worry is going to be where the shooting sits and where the minutes sit. Anthony Simons dropped 27 points. You go, that's unbelievable. Yeah, he fouled out in 23 minutes and had 27 points with 6 threes. Now, of course, there's not a lot else going on there, and it was 82% shooting. Actually, you know what? That's false. He had 5 assists, so that's all right. And a steal, which is for him bloody unbelievable. And then he shot unbelievable as well. He has had some stinkers. But this is a very strong run from him. There is no Scoot Henderson here. Klingon's out. Rob Williams is out. Shaden Sharp also was able to get some stuff done. 37 minutes, 22 points. He had 2 steals. My worry with Shaden remains the same. He took 20 shots. He hit 50% of the shots, but that is what he needed to get to the line, which is fine. That's all it is. It's fine. All right, we're holding him. We are rostering him, but I have got some concerns about the upside. There's also a huge game from Tumani Kamara. He had 17 points. He hit 5 threes. He had 7 rebounds. He played 36 minutes. Now, all of this is interesting, but Scoot was out. So when Scoot comes back, and if Matisse Thybulle ever exists, but it's more important that Scoot's out, like Kamara is going to remain as a fringy sort of a player. The Snowman had 18, 7, and 3. DeAndre Ayton, just bad from the line and didn't hit threes, but otherwise that's pretty good. While Jeremy Grant was not very good. 14, 5, and 6 with 2 threes. It's just fine. Like, I think a lot of the Jeremy Grant stuff I just look at and go, yeah, whatever. It's fine. It's okay. Yeah, whatever. You're good. We're all good, yeah. That's sort of how I feel. Like, we're going to drop him at some point. We guarantee Ides of March is going to hit like bricks. We know this. And he's just, I don't know. He's just such a mid player that there's just frustrations I have with him for whatever reason, whether they're fair or not. They are. He's just annoying. The Spurs go on the road, knock off the Kings. We'll talk about the Kings side of this in a second, but 127-125. That Victor Wembanyama bloke's all right, isn't he? 37 minutes, 34 and 13, 11 assists, 3 blocks, 5 triples, 78 from the line, 65 from the field. The number 2 ranked player. Pretty good, yeah. He's pretty good. Also pretty good is old Buble, Julian Champagny, 19 and 8, 2 steals and 4 threes. And they are continuing to just softly stroke the minutes of Vassell along. And while that is happening, Champagny is useful. I don't know how long that lasts. When Sohan returns, maybe this week, we'll see what happens. But yeah, we roll with Champagny. You know what I think you can do in a lot of spots? I don't think you have to, but I think you can consider it. You can jack Steph Castle.
Get that garbage out of here.
And you'll say, Josh, he's been so awesome. And I'll say, like, has he? 182nd in category leagues over the last 2 weeks. 177th for points leagues over the season. He had 8 points. He played 33 minutes. He had 0 rebounds, 1 assist. Shot 25%, didn't attempt a single free throw. He just does not have a good fantasy game. He might not ever get one. He might. He's a rookie. But he has been buoyed. I'll say buoyed so you know what I'm saying instead of buoyed, like I would say, by the fact that Vassell's been out and Trey Jones has hurt himself again today and players, Sohan's been out and he's been getting this starting job. But overall, he has not been good enough. And I don't think he's going to remain good enough. And I would have no problem moving on from Steph Castle. I also, shockingly enough, I'm sure all of you watching would have no problem if you wanted to move on from Harrison Barnes. In fact, I'd say it this way. I'd be happy to jack off the pencil Harrison Barnes. Barnesy! He had 8 points in 27 minutes. He had no steals and no blocks and shot 43%. And we know what Barnes does. There'll be a 3-game stretch where he has 20 points a game on 4 shots in each game. And everyone gets excited. And then it goes back to this and it stays like this for a long time. It was also a pretty good game from Keldon Johnson. Actually, it was a very Keldon Johnson game. 17, 5, and 1 with no defensive stats. That is what he does. You don't roster him in 12-team leagues. San Antonio's Rui Hachimura is more of a points league guy, but he's more of like a 14-team league player. What I used to call him, Tall Colin Sexton. That was Rui. That was Tall Colin Sexton. Keldon's like Texas Colin Sexton. I don't know. He's something like that. Chrissy Paul had 13, 2, and 10, which is fine. Devin Vassell only 24 minutes, but 21 points and 5 threes and a block. We know that this is what they do. When Vassell gets hurt, they go incredibly slowly in ramping him back up. But he's actually producing at a really high level. So if someone wants to drop him, go ahead. You make your mistake on your own. Don't think that I'm co-signing it. Don't drop Devin Vassell. Go and add Devin Vassell if someone makes that mistake. Speaking of mistakes, the Sacramento Kings franchise. That's it, just the franchise. Big mistake. Sorry, Kings fans. I actually do love Kings fans, apart from the ones that are abusive, but that's the same with all fan base. But this franchise cannot stop stepping on their own rakes and smack them in the face, Sideshow Bob style. This is the first time ever that Malik Monk has started on this team. Michael Brown said, no, I know you're good, but let's see how few minutes we can play you. We'll do everything we can to play you less than what we should. And yeah, they still lost here. But I don't know, man. We actually got it though, finally. 37 minutes for Malik Monk. 19, 7 and 6, 5-3, steal, block, roster him. Got to do it. 26 minutes for Monk, not enough. 35, absolutely. And we're not there yet, but Keegan Murray's just never going to touch it. He played 38 minutes. He had 8 points. He had a steal and a block. He had 6 rebounds. He didn't shoot the ball that well. He is a good defensive player, but that means close to nothing for us when we're talking about fantasy. I am holding barely, but if I'm in an 8 or a 10, I don't think that you need to with Keegan. What's he going to do that's going to be blowing us away? DeMar DeRozan returned. He was very good in his return. Great from the line, great from the field. 28, 5 and 8, and gave you 3 steals. And Fox was not so accurate with his shooting. 23, 6 and 9. And Sabonis had 25, 13 and 6. And good numbers from all those guys. One of my best double onyx, platinum, double titanium, whatever. Well, I don't even know what it is anymore. One of my best ones that I said yesterday on the streaming show, I said, hey, if you want to look at some field goal percentage during the double onyxes, look at a bloke by the name of Isaac Jones. Well, could that have worked out any better? Probably not. 12 points for Isaac Jones in 19 minutes. 4 rebounds, steal, block, 71% shooting. I'll tell you right now, Isaac Jones, I think, is a better player than Jay Crowder at this point in time. And with Trey Lyles out and Jay Crowder being Jay Crowder, I'd be a little bit interested in very, very deep leagues. 20-teamers, 30-teamers. Isaac Jones, I think, is going to have a run of playing minutes here. I don't think you need to care in nearly any other league. But I just wanted to highlight that he is playing better than Jay Crowder and might be just something to watch. Also, you can go ahead and drop Keon Ellis.
Get that garbage out of here.
Ellis played 17 minutes and had 8 points. He did block a shot. He did hit 2 threes, but that's not enough for me to continue to care, I don't think. And then we do the final game of the day, the Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers. Same lineup for both of these teams, even though Aaron Gordon was back. He played off the bench, 24 minutes, 10, 1 and 4. If you were interested in Gordon before he got hurt, then you go and grab him. If you weren't, then you don't. Like, he was really good to start the season on some shooting that was not going to stick. But he does have a relatively limited game. Despite all that, Peyton Watson was still really good here. That's fantastic. 13 and 5, a triple one. 29 minutes. I would be very comfortable in dropping Peyton Watson. This is fine, but Aaron Gordon's not going to be a 24-minute-a-night bench player. He might take a couple of games, but if you need to make a move, like adding Malik Monk, yeah, then Peyton Watson goes. Easy. Big Chungus played 39 minutes and they lost. 28, 14, 11 for Nikola Jokic. Elite field goals, bad free throws. He is playing so many minutes, and that's not largely, he's awesome. He's shooting like 55% from 3 as well. But one of the major reasons he's so good for fantasy this season is the rest of the team is bad. The rest of the team is bad, so he has to play a million minutes to get there. The headmaster played 38 minutes, Jamal Murray, 18 points only with 7 assists. And Westbrook, yeah, he had 8 assists, he had 2 steals, that's all solid. But those percentages are very, very hard in category leagues. In points leagues, he's fine and he should be rostered. And Christian Brown, after starting the season absolutely cooking, we are seeing a drop back. Now, still 36 minutes a night, or still 36 minutes here, but not enough usage-wise. He took 7 shots. 71% is great, but 11 and 7, 2 assists, 1 of 3 from the line. He has sort of cooled off, which is expected. Still solid enough to be a 12-team league guy, but it has cooled off. And it was a bad Michael Porter game. 1 of 4 from the line is terrible. 18 and 7 is fine, but 1 assist, no steals, no blocks. It does end up hurting you. On the Clippers side of things, still no Kawhi. I don't know if I'll ever be able to say the Kawhi return, to be honest. I don't know when that's happening. If that's happening, probably never. But it was all about Jim Harden, wasn't it? Norman Powell returned in this game. He only started the first half. He didn't start the second half, but he started over Amir Coffey. But let's talk about Jim Harden, who played 38 minutes, including the final 24 minutes straight of this game. 39, 9, 11, 6 triples, top 10 player this season, 11th in points leagues. Unbelievable grab if you grabbed him at the end of the first round. It's worked out very well. And even though he's had terrible field goals, 39%, elite free throws in this game, he's been ridiculously good. Norman Powell played 25 minutes in his return and his hot shooting continued. 28 points with 5 threes. The problem with him remains is that when he's not shooting absolutely ridiculous stuff, what else are we getting? Because 0 rebounds and 1 assist does not cut it. He did have a steal, but that's how you know there is going to be a drop-off. Derek Jones didn't do anything, but what about old mate Ivica Zubac? That stinks. 6 and 8, 22% from the field, 2 of 5 from the line. Terrible, terrible game. But you know what? You cut him a little bit of slack considering how good he's been. An elite block streamer, which is amazing to say. It is true, but Mo Bamba's actually a stream guy. Another 2 blocks for him. He doesn't play many minutes because he's bad, but he does block a lot of shots. While Amir Coffey had 13 with 3 threes. Kevin Porter was out of this one. Cool. While Terrence Mann had 15 points in his 25 minutes. Not anything to get us too excited there, I don't think. Let's move across now and let's give out some awards, I think. That'll be good to do. And we'll start with the monstrous line of the night. There is absolutely no worries here. It's Victor Wembanyama, 34, 13, 11, a steal and 3 blocks. Here's your monstrous line of the night. Your waiver wire line of the night is Quentin Grimes, 28 points. He had 5 rebounds. He had 3 assists. He had 5 steals as well. No Clay, no Najee, no Kyrie. Helps him, so I wouldn't rush to add. Your young gun of the night, obviously, it's Wemby. He's a second-year player. At least next season, we won't have to worry about him stealing these awards every night. He continues to be ridiculous. He's the second best player in fantasy, and some might say he might end up the best. We'll find out. And the dud of the night, the worst performance of the day from a highly rostered player is Amen Thompson. 9, 6, and 1. Even Zubats gave him a run for his money, but Amen takes it down. He's been awesome. This is obviously not awesome. Yeah, not awesome. Let's take a look at the top 6 performers of the day. You already know at number 1 who it was. It was, of course, Victor Wembanyama in that position. But number 2 for category leagues was Luka Doncic, followed by Jim Harden, RJ Barrett, Quentin Grimes, and Jaren Jackson, with Nikola Jokic just narrowly behind there. If we take a look at the top 6 waiver wire plays of the day, Quentin Grimes, number 1, followed by Champagny, who probably should be on rosters, Goga Badadze, who should be on rosters, Spencer Dinwiddie, who's somehow defying everything and putting up good numbers. I'm not that interested there. Tamani Kamara remains a 12-team stream guy. And Sammy Hauser, you might get a couple of good ones coming from him this week. For Yahoo Points Leagues, your top 6 players for the day: Wembanyama, Doncic, Harden, Jokic, LeBron James, and DeMar DeRozan. And lastly, for ESPN Points Leagues, these guys both finished, I think, exactly 83 fantasy points, Wemby and Doncic, followed by Harden, Barrett, Grimes, and Big Chungus, Nikola Jokic. It's Sunday, my dudes, so let's go and have a look at how I went in my matchups. I haven't checked them, so let's hope we got some okay results. And we'll go into industry pickup. You know that I'm in the industry pickup 9-cat auction league, and after a slow start, I'm starting to get back into it here. A 7-2 victory for me this week against Sam and Liam from Point Made. You can see the other results there on the screen. Angle beat Roto Kyle. That's Kyle McEwen. Fantasy Trash Talk Jacob beat Mitch Casey. Joel Bartolotta beat Alex Burns. And Josh and Evan from Point Made beat Karen Talua. What do the standings look like over there? Am I jumping up? Oh, there we go. All right, we're pushed into 6th. Equal 4th now. After a dreadful start, we're starting to go. We're starting to go, which I'm happy with. The other auction draft that I showed on the channel, let's have a look at that one. The league's called Immaculate Pivot. I snuck out a 5-4 win there. Also a really slow start in that league. I've got a million guys injured on that team. It is going to be hard to get there, but happy to get some big performances from Simons and DeRozan and Champagny today to get me over the line there. The FBI World Cup, my team is dreadful. There's no way I won this one, did I? No way. We're 2-7. Cooked. Ugh, yuck. The Kingies head-to-head Roto combination league, I'm on top of the standings there, and second place is Dan Titus, and Titus beat me today, damn it. But you play everyone every week, so I had a 3-6 against Titus, a 5-4 win, a 6-3, a 5-4, a 6-3, a 6-3, a 5-4, a 6-2, and a 7-2. That is a very, very good result. Do I stay on top? Yes, I am currently 1 game ahead of Titus. He's at 40. I'm at 42 and 12. He's 41 and 13, and then Noah Rubin's at 33. So we are a long way ahead in that one. So I'm happy with how that's going. Let's have a look at the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl, the category league version. 2 matchups per week in these leagues. So let's see how that one panned out. I had a 6-3 over We the North. Well, he's Canadian. That's an easy one. And the other one was a 3-6 loss against Tony Tone. I'm definitely not going that well in that one. And the points league one, I think my points league team might be worse than my category league team. Let's have a look at how that one is going, or how the scores went here. That's the wrong league. Didn't mean to show that one. I meant to show the points league one, which eventually it'll come up. There we go. I beat Azor Ahai, or comfortably, 300 points up on that one. Ow, snuck out an 11-point victory against this 50 Shades of Clay. That is a W, a 2-0 from me in that one. I won't do a Roto check-in this week. It's better to check the Roto, I think, every couple of weeks. Not much point to see what's changed there, but overall, it's one of the better weeks that I've had. So I think we're getting back into the swing of things there. And that is Sunday. That is week 6 done. Week 7 starts tomorrow. And what you can do to start off week 7 with an absolute bang is you can double bang. You can thumb up and you can leave your comments down below. You can double on titanium, platinum, diamond move on this league. You can go on this video, actually. You can go and thumb it up and do whatever you need to do. But also remember, let's celebrate. What did we do good? Did you win your matchup? That's good. I love it. I love that for you. Unless you're against me. In that case, I don't like it for you. But otherwise, I do like it for you. You did something good. You made a good pickup. You did something nice for a friend. Don't be hard on yourselves, man. Like, self-improvement always, but be positive. Be positive. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much. You know what? Before I do that, there are already too many dickheads in the world. Don't be a dickhead to yourself. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.